basically, all your comments, issues, sharings fell into three major issues, no, that we'd like to share with you. The first issue is that while people start out being just FUBUs, later they find themselves so involved. And because they find themselves so involved, the more, I wouldn't say mature, kasi magiging judgmental rin ako. I would say the more forward-looking can see that, oh, we have to stop. Hindi ito yung gusto ko. O hindi ito yung ang pinag-usapan namin. So, unless I clear it with him or with her, buti na stop na lang ako. Because if not, it will put too much pressure on her or on him, no? Because if you don't realize what's happening to you, all that happens is that you will panic. Not only because you've broken your own rules, but because this guy or this woman doesn't feel the same way towards you that you feel towards him or her. So masakit yun, ano? Because in your mind, once you fall in love with this person, then sex takes on a much deeper meaning. It's not just, well, good exercise, good practice, encourages you to do balancing, etc., etc., being more limber and flexible so you can do things that, other people can't do. What it does, though, is if sex means more than the physical and maybe a bit of the emotional, then mahirap eh. So what you do is, sometimes you think you're just fuck buddies and then later on it means more to you. Okay, it happens, no? You may get hurt, but in time, hoping sooner rather than later, you accept what happened. You say, you laugh at yourself and you say, look, akala ko kaya ko pero hindi naman, no? Admittedly, this becomes easier the longer, the greater distance and the greater time you have. But at least, I just want you to know that there's hope. That there's hope if you fall in love with your fuck buddy. And if he is not just a fuckable friend, but also a real buddy. Okay, he may not be in love with you. You may not be the only man or woman in his life, but he will understand and he will not judge you just because the rule was broken that you fell in love with him or her. Okay? The other issue we found was that girls still seem different from guys. Most girls from most guys, okay? So we are not generalizing here. But as you can see, I mentioned one guy, but several guys had said, mahirap na. I always have to make it clear to my fuck buddy that sex lang ito, hindi love. Okay? And many women, although I think there were two or three guys who had said, I stopped kasi I fell in love na with her. But when we collated all that we got from Twitter, from FB, from email, we found that it was still girls who had said later on that nahulugan ng loob ko, I fell in love with him, so I stopped na lang. Okay? Then, of course, the third issue is, can you really just shrug it off? Is it true that posible talaga to have a fuck buddy, to have just a body after sex? No, if a lot of what people think, if it is such an intimate experience, can you just move on and not feel a connection with the person? No, I feel you have a connection with the person because you've agreed to have sex with him or her. I mean, you wouldn't have sex with him or her if you didn't like the person or had at least a smidgen of respect, right? So may connection, pero yung connection hindi matindi, hindi malalim. But definitely may connection. I mean, you wouldn't have sex with an anti-RH senator or congressman, would you? Of course, that's my bias. Maybe that's the kind you would have sex with, but not a pro-RH. But of course, may connection, no? So, this is something you accept, but it doesn't mean that just because may connection, hindi pwedeng let's have sex. Oh, the sex was wonderful. I wouldn't mind if you bought me a drink. Pero hindi yun, am I the only woman in your life? Will you introduce me to your mother? Etc., etc. So this depends on where you are emotionally. Therefore, if you realize you cannot take it, move on. As they say, rather brutally to some, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Okay? Now, based on all the comments we got, not all naman, because a lot of people really enjoyed the experience of fuck buddies, but there were several, and usually these were the ones who had the strongest feelings, no? Like Mr. H and a few others, that FUBUs are not good, no? That not only are they not good, as I say, it's okay if it's not good for you, but don't naman judge other people. But these people, these like hardliners would say, no, it's not okay. In fact, it's terrible. And nga, you're callous, you're unthinking, you don't have a conscience at all. Now, why would people think that way? I think it's because of several reasons. First of all, many of us have been taught that sex is sacred. But you know, this is not necessarily so. And even if sex is not sacred to you, that does not mean you're a mean person. That does not mean you're a bad person. You know, sex can be wonderful if it is sacred. But just because it is not sacred doesn't mean it's less fun or doesn't mean that it's awful. Okay? Another concept I think that people have is masyadong bulgar magkaroon ng sex kung hindi kayo close. You cannot just do it. But, you know, but why can't you just do it? After all, Nike users can't, can't they? So why not you? Now, of course, I'm being facetious, but of course, you can do it as long as klaro, as long as walang nagsasagasa sa isa't isa, walang tapakan, etc. You know, in my clinical experience, FUBUs are more easily handled if you're older. Because usually if you're older, you've already experienced true love or at least a facsimile of it. Kasi you know naman, some people claim they love you truly, but they don't know. But you've experienced what it feels like to be loved or to be lied to that someone loves you. So for at least a brief moment in time, you know how it is to be loved. And therefore, you can tell the difference between just sex, which can be terrific, and love. And therefore, it is easier for you to distinguish the two. You don't mistake one for the other. Thus, I think the oldies, and I include myself, have less difficulty separating the two. So also oldies are usually more cool about things. So they know if the fuck buddy relationship ends, well, okay lang because there'll be another fuck buddy in the future, especially if we keep ourselves attractive, but also because maybe love will come later. No, it's very clear to you that what you miss is the sex, the heat, the orgasm, rather, you know, and realizing that the itch you have can be scratched. Not necessarily because somebody is in love with you, but because you both want the same thing and you both agree on it. Okay? So finally, if I were to give some tips, one would be stick to the rules. If you know you're about to break them, stop it unless you both want to carry it to a deeper romantic level. Pero the two of you should stick to the rules. Okay? Now, next week we will have our Christmas episode. Yay, yay, yay. So send me your questions on Facebook, tweet using the hashtag AskMargie, or send an email to askmargie@rappler.com. You can also send presents if you like. Joke only. Okay, and I just wanted to tell Soup010, thank you so much for your comment. For me, that was one of the best presents I've already gotten this year. See you next week.